Welcome to this explainer on control and coordination. Look, if you're a 10 standard student who gets easily bored by giant textbook paragraphs, you're in the exact right place. Today, we're going to completely break down one of the most fascinating biology chapters and unlock the absolute cheat codes to acing your exam. We're talking about how your body, and actually even plants, communicate, react, and ultimately survive. Let's dive right in. Imagine this for a second. You're in the kitchen and your hand accidentally touches a burning hot pan. What happens next? Bam! Your hand flies back instantly. But why does this happen? How does your body know to pull away so quickly without you even consciously thinking about it? You didn't just stand there and think, oh, this is incredibly hot, I should probably move my hand, right? That split-second reaction, that's exactly what control and coordination is all about. We'll kick things off with Section 1, the magic of movement. Let's look at the difference between really quick reactions and slow growth. To understand those lightning-fast reactions, we've got to go microscopic. Your body is wired with special nerve cells called neurons that pass information using electricity. But here's the really interesting part. Neurons don't actually touch each other. There is a microscopic gap between them called a synapse. Think of this gap kind of like a tiny river. The body's electrical signal literally can't swim across it. So what does it do? It has to hop onto a chemical ferry called a neurotransmitter just to cross the river and reach the next cell. Let's track the exact step-by-step journey of how this info travels, because this is a highly testable concept. First, the specialized tip of the neuron, called the dendrite, detects a stimulus, let's say, the heat from that hot pan. Second, that information is converted into an electrical impulse that shoots all the way down the long tail of the cell, which is called the axon. Third, when it reaches the end, it hits that synapse gap we just talked about. It turns into a chemical, crosses over, and sparks a brand new electrical signal in the next cell. And this entire relay race, it happens in milliseconds. Moving right along to Section 2, the quick reflex action. Let's see how your body handles extreme emergencies. Sending a message all the way to your brain takes way too long during an emergency. So your body uses a brilliant shortcut called the reflex arc. Instead of routing the danger signal all the way up to your brain, the sensory nerves from your hand shoot the message straight to your spinal cord. The spinal cord acts as the absolute boss in this situation. It instantly connects that incoming signal to a motor nerve, which fires a message straight back to your arm muscles to pull away. It completely bypasses the thinking brain. But wait, does the brain ever find out what happened? Yes, absolutely. The message still goes to the brain eventually, but just so it can record the memory and learn, hey, let's not touch that pan again. Now, this brings us to a massive, high-yield exam question. You definitely want to remember the critical difference between reflex actions and involuntary actions. Both of them happen without you consciously thinking about them, but they are super different. Reflex actions are sudden, emergency responses controlled by the spinal cord, like pulling your hand away from fire or blinking when dust flies into your eye. Involuntary actions, on the other hand, are continuous background processes controlled by your brain. Think of your heartbeat, breathing, or digesting your lunch. You're not actively thinking about doing them, but they aren't sudden emergency reactions either. Okay, let's zoom out from the spinal cord for Section 3, nervous system and brain, where we look at the ultimate control center of your entire body. So, your brain has 3 main regions, and here is your ultimate memory trick to cleanly separate their functions for your test. First up, the forebrain. Think of this as the thinker. It handles all your voluntary actions, your memory, your learning, and interpreting your senses. So when you're solving a complex math problem or enjoying the smell of fresh pizza, that is all your forebrain. Next is the midbrain, or the helper, which manages certain involuntary movements. And finally, the hindbrain. This is the balancer, and it's vital. The hindbrain has a part called the medulla, which runs your breathing and blood pressure. But it also has the cerebellum, which completely controls your posture and balance. So walking in a perfectly straight line or riding a bicycle, you can thank your cerebellum for that. Of course, an organ this crucial needs some top-tier security. Your body actually provides a literal built-in helmet. The brain is protected by a tough, bony box called the cranium, or the skull. But it gets better. Inside that box, the brain is wrapped in a fluid-filled balloon. This liquid is called cerebrospinal fluid, and it acts as an amazing shock absorber, keeping your supercomputer perfectly safe from physical bumps and damage. All right, let's shift gears entirely for Section 4, how plants move and grow. We've talked a lot about animals and humans, but what about plants? Think about it. How do plants move if they don't have brains, nerves, or muscles? They can't just run away or flex a bicep. Yet we know for a fact they do move. Well, plant movements fall into 2 main categories. First, we have nastic movement. This is super fast, and it doesn't involve any growth. Imagine a touch-me-not plant. You poke it, and the leaves instantly fold up. How? By rapidly changing the turgor pressure, which is just the amount of water inside its cells. No muscles required at all. On the other hand, we have tropism. This is a very slow, directional movement that is entirely dependent on growth, and it's driven by plant hormones. A great example is how plant roots always grow downwards towards gravity, which is known as geotropism. Let's look at probably the most famous example of tropism, phototropism, or how plants just magically seem to bend toward the sunshine. Here is the step-by-step breakdown. Step 1. The plant detects sunlight coming from one side. Step 2. A plant hormone called auxin quickly gathers on the shady side of the stem, away from the light. Step 3. Auxin makes cells grow longer. Because the cells on the shady side are now growing longer and faster than the cells on the sunny side, it literally pushes the plant to bend towards the light. It's honestly just pure chemical engineering. And speaking of chemicals, this brings us perfectly to our fifth section, chemical messengers and hormones. We learned earlier that nerves act like really fast electrical wires, right? But living things also use hormones, which are basically chemical broadcasts that travel everywhere and offer long-term control. Here is your ultimate screenshot-worthy plant hormone cheat sheet. Memorize these 4. The first 3 are your growth boosters. Auxin promotes cell growth and bending to light. Gibberellin is your stem growth booster. Cytokinin is the cell division booster, so you'll find tons of it in rapidly growing areas like fruits and seeds. But the 4th one is the growth stopper. That's abscisic acid. Sometimes a plant just needs to stop growing or shed old leaves to survive the winter cold. Abscisic acid is what causes that leaf wilting and stops growth. Now, humans and animals use hormones too, managed by something called the endocrine system. What makes the endocrine system so unique is that it is a network of glands that literally dump their chemical signals directly into your bloodstream. They don't use tubes or ducts. And because these hormones travel in the blood, they can reach and affect every single cell in your entire body, completely independently of your nerve wires. Let's look at probably the most thrilling hormone in your body, adrenaline, the fight or flight hormone. Just imagine a scary animal suddenly jumps out at you. Your adrenal glands, which literally sit like little caps on top of your kidneys, dump adrenaline right into your blood. Instantly, your heart rate skyrockets to pump more oxygen. Your breathing rate boosts. Your body actually shuts down blood flow to your digestive system and skin and diverts all that blood straight to your skeletal muscles. Why? So you have the explosive energy to either fight the threat or run for your life. We have covered an immense amount of ground today. Let's wrap up this explainer with Section 6, a quick exam revision summary. Let's rapidly recap these specific cheat codes to make absolutely sure you are test ready. Remember, the synapse is that tiny chemical gap between neurons. The reflex arc is your body's emergency shortcut, bypassing the brain and using the spinal cord for instant action. Your cerebellum is the part of the hindbrain controlling your posture and balance. In plants, the hormone auxin gathers on the shady side to bend the stem toward the light. And in animals, adrenaline is the ultimate survival hormone, triggering your fight or flight response. Just take a moment to appreciate this. Your body is running millions of invisible chemical messages and lightning-fast electrical impulses every single second, just to keep you alive, balanced, and learning. You've got the cheat codes to control and coordination now, but if your brain is powerful enough to learn all of this today, what else is it secretly controlling right now without you even knowing? Keep that curiosity firing, trust your nervous system, and I know you are absolutely ready to ace your exam. Thanks for hanging out with me on this explainer.